Америка прямо сейчас пытается поменять правила на рынке золота и криптовалют. Вспомните, какой у них долг. 35 триллионов долларов. В общем-то, это два альтернативных валютному сегменту мировых рынка. Действия Вашингтона в этом направлении отчетливо демонстрируют одну из главных американских задач. Они очень хотят решить проблему снижения доверия к доллару. США, как это было и в 30-е, и в 70-е годы, будут решать свои финансовые проблемы за счет всего мира, загоняя всех куда? В криптовалютное облако. Со временем, когда часть госдолга США будет размещена в стейблкоинах, США обесценит этот долг. Еще раз простыми словами, у них сейчас валютный 35-триллионный долг, они его загоняют в крипту, в облако, обесценивают и начинают с нуля. Это для тех, кто очень любит заниматься криптой.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, direct from the bar,
PB.
What is going on out there, peeps? My apologies. I was on live earlier, and for whatever reason, YouTube has been doing this ever since I aired the Charlie Kirk funeral. It allowed to go so long, and then it starts buffering. It's almost like a shadow banning me. So my apologies. We had a good conversation going. There was quite a few people that were sitting in the view and having a good conversation with me, and then it just cut out. So again, I want to apologize for that. We will try it again soon. Okay, I'm going to start doing lives for you guys. And you guys can ask me any kind of questions, gold, silver, cryptos, Iraqi dinars, Vietnam dong, whatever you want to ask questions about. But let's go ahead and get into gold and silver because people are complaining that I have not spoken about it for quite a while. And I understand that, but let's move forward, shall we? Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so because when you do, it helps out the channel. And I certainly do appreciate it. Okay, so you heard that gentleman earlier. They believe that the United States is trying to push people into cryptocurrencies as the currency for the US dollar so that they can devalue the cryptocurrency and then make our debt smaller than it is. I spoke about this before in the past. The United States has a habit of accumulating a lot of debt, and to pay less, what they do is they change the interest rates. Well, those kind of tricks are fading away. Cryptocurrency seems to be a direction that people can go into. They'll value it at a certain rate, everybody's going to jump into it, and then they'll turn around and devalue it, and then they'll be able to pay off their debt with less dollars. But for those of you who hold on to gold and silver, this could be a really good and profitable thing for us. All right, so we're going to get into why that is. Bitcoin at $111,993 per coin. Ethereum at $4,169. XRP is at $2.84. I remember there's a guy who was named Lion, XRP, Lion or David or whatever, telling everybody this was going to be a $500,000 token. I like to see at least move positively in that direction. But it hasn't done much growth since then. Solana at $214.75 per token. Dogecoin's at 23 cents. Cardano's at 81 cents. Chainlink's at $21.77. Avalanche at $33.74. XLM Stellar's at 36 cents. Looky here, you have gold at $3,796 per ounce. That's a huge jump from when I first was talking about gold and silver. In the group, I was talking about gold and silver back in 2014, 2015. Gold was somewhere around $1,200 per ounce. It's 3 times that since then. Silver's at $44.26 an ounce. And yes, every time I see silver prices run like this, I do think about Monica and her kids. Okay, they're not the only ones. There's other people I've spoken to that have bought a lot of silver over the last couple of years I spoke about it. It's never too late, you guys. Just because the price is where it is doesn't mean you missed out on anything. Gold and silver is going to continue to go up, so now's the time to buy. But $44.26 an ounce, woo, you should be making out like a bandit. Okay, this is Mark McGuire. He is talking about something interesting. He's talking about the revaluation of gold and why it's necessary to do it as quickly as possible. So let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say.
Currently, the value of US gold reserves is about 2% of Treasury outstanding, compared to roughly 17% in the 1970s and actually close to 40% in the 1940s. Now, at 17%, it places gold around $25,000. At 40%, $50,000 an ounce. Now, I'm not saying liquidity providers don't expect this global gold demand to taper off anytime soon. And this places the Fed stick handling the 8,133 tons of US Treasury gold in a position where it would be far better to revalue gold sooner than later. Now, following the ECB announcing in June that gold overtook the euro as a global reserve asset, Mohammed El-Erian is discerned for the first time since 1996. Foreign central banks now hold more gold.
A surprise revaluation by the US, China, or both could spark a new era where gold, once again, anchors the value of money. It would upend assumptions about the dollar, the yuan, and the very meaning of financial security. Today, the 260 million ounces of gold supposedly held by the U.S. Treasury are recorded at only $11 billion. At current prices, their value would approach $936 billion, still modest compared to the $37 trillion federal debt. Some analysts suggest a possible revaluation to at least $20,000 per ounce. Skepticism about a U.S. gold revaluation is a mistake. Andrew McGuire underscores that the Bank for International Settlements Tier 1 reclassification was the first signal, prompting central banks to swap depreciating fiat for gold at any price. He notes that gold has gained $2,000 since, and a U.S. revaluation is the next logical step. A turning point has arrived in the global monetary system. Andrew McGuire says that by adopting Basel III-compliant yuan gold pricing, China is stealthily assuming gold convertibility, displacing the dollar's dominance. Escalating trade tensions with the U.S. have prompted China to take a defensive stance economically. This has become a major gold price driver in 2025, and that trend is expected to continue in the years ahead. The prospect of a gold revaluation, or a disclosure of substantially larger Chinese gold reserves than officially reported. A full audit of U.S. Treasury gold is being called for, and it could expose a major secret. According to Andrew McGuire, if the White House delays, a bid-only market will be forced, which would prove that the Fed has lost control.
One of the biggest issues is knowing for sure whether or not the United States has the gold it says it does. We should have done an audit a long time ago. I know Trump had threatened to do it. Let's see if he actually does it.
There's been some very understandable skepticism around US gold market revaluation. That because we had the same kind of skepticism when people were doubting that the Bank of International Settlements would revalue gold as a first-tier high-quality liquid asset. So I'm going to update and run through the gold revaluation footprints we're now evidencing, along with the most likely dollar gold price expectations. Now, I'll also provide some end-of-year realistic silver targets. Now, bearing in mind, the bulk of our information gets distilled through the largest liquidity providers, physical liquidity providers, who see both gold and silver grossly undervalued versus gold and silver that broke out months ago into all-time highs. So let's start with gold. Just as the Bank of International Settlements inflection point, where they revalued gold as a first-tier high-quality liquid asset, drove a race by global central banks to swap fiat currency assets for physical gold, just 33 months later, gold priced in dollars is currently $2,000 per ounce higher. So net out the intra-month legacy market volatility, and gold has averaged out a very quiet, stealthy, relentless $60 per ounce rise in price. This relentless gold demand has driven the legacy paper market to an impossible to maintain divergent inflection point that can only be resolved by a massive bid-only margin call or a US Treasury gold price revaluation. So now that global physical exchanges have become sufficiently liquid to benchmark a real supply demand gold bullion price outside the CME LBMA ring fence, the stealthy gold revaluation process that commenced directly after the Bank of International Settlements revalued gold as a first-tier high-quality liquid asset on the 1st of January 2023 has gathered sufficient momentum to force the US Treasury gold to be revalued. And we'll kind of look at those footprints. And as we've been drawing attention to, every single non-dollar denominated fiat gold price has been driven into all-time highs. But as we've been focusing on, the real game changer is that China took the gloves off the moment the yuan gold price became fully Basel III compliant. Now, the fact that this is still unnoticed by the mainstream media, these are the analysts who try and form fit news releases, interest rate drivers, these kind of things which influence the paper market actors greatly, but they completely miss the underlying race by central banks to swap dollars and associated fiat currencies, this whole range of fiat currencies, for physical gold. But here's the key: at any price. They don't care if it's higher or lower, they are accumulating. And with the Basel III compliant yuan-backed gold price being benchmarked through a growing network of physically backed SGE exchanges, Western-facing, Beijing is stealthily assuming the gold convertibility mantle. The ease of hedging the yuan price against all other FX currencies, bonds, etc. So the PBOC is rapidly usurping the dollar as the global hegemon, ultimately forcing Basel III compliance on the last holdout, non-Basel III global central bank, forcing an imminent gold price revaluation.
Now, I thought what he said was very interesting, that China is starting to position itself to be the ones that initiate this gold revalue. Right now, the United States has that position, but they're dragging their ass. Now, Trump has been for quite some time trying to push us back into the gold market and revalue into gold. He's just meeting a lot of resistance. Let's hope he can get through. So before they do this revaluation, make sure you're stocking up on both gold and silver, physical. We're not talking about paper gold and silver, the ETFs. I'm talking about you got to physically have it. You can order it and get it sent to your house and physically have it in your possession. Anyways, that's it for now. I appreciate your time. I'll catch you later. I'm out.